Hello, everyone. Hello.
Howdy.
Hi. Welcome to AUSOME. Still not sure if I like this mic or not. That's okay. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm David Vogelpole. I'm one of the hosts. My company's Marketing Click. You can hit me up on Twitter if you want. And I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm really excited about this topic. I spend a lot of time thinking about mobile design and the work that I do with my company and for our customers. We're worried about different views on different devices and what we should do and why we should do it. And our speaker tonight is a very smart gentleman on this topic, and I'll talk about him more here in a second. I'd like to thank Affiliate Summit for sponsoring the food and beer tonight. Those guys are awesome. The next Affiliate Summit is in August in New York, and you should totally go. It's a great conference, especially if you're looking to either be an affiliate, earn commissions from referring people to other people, or if you're looking to use affiliate marketing as a way to drive traffic that leads to your site. If you're going to tweet tonight, please use the hashtag #BeAwesome. And don't forget, you can use the Meetup app to check in and upload photos, so please do that. As a matter of fact, our speaker tonight hasn't spoken publicly in over a year. And he's a very smart and influential guy, so you guys are very, very lucky to have him here tonight talking. I've known Chris for a couple of years, 2-3 years now, and he's done some pretty significant things in the time that I've known him. He's the gentleman behind the DIY Themes Thesis framework for WordPress. He'll tell you a little bit about that later. And he is a very influential designer. He's probably the most obsessive person about fonts I've ever met in my entire life. Guaranteed. If you follow him on Twitter, you'll see tons of rants about fonts, so make sure to do that. And even more impressive than all of that, he is the world's #2 player at Xbox Power Star Golf. So you're very, very lucky to have him here tonight.
Hands up if you know what that is.
Yeah. Nobody raised their hand. It's a children's golf game. Congratulations, Chris, on his accomplishment.
I have great nerd cred, that's what he's trying to say.
But in any case, I'll quit taking up the stage time and let him kind of get down to it. He's going to talk about mobile design. Pay attention because it's really, really important for your website. Introducing Chris Pearson.
Or do I need this? Do I need this? I guess I use this. All right, Mercer says this. Okay, so as David said, I'm Chris Pearson. I own a company called DIY Themes. We've been producing Thesis, which is a WordPress theme, for 6 years and 3 months. Feeling pretty fortunate to be in business that long, given the ups and downs, if any of you are familiar with the story there. But anyway, but today, kind of leaving some of the development stuff on the shelf, I want to talk about mobile design. And specifically, I have to deal with this stuff every day. I have clients, customers coming to me saying, oh, I need a mobile design. And one thing is for sure, almost nobody knows what the heck they're talking about. They really haven't identified their needs very well. And they really don't even know what mobile design is. So we're going to kind of cover the basics today. And I'm going to talk to you from my perspective about it, because I've seen this stuff come and go, and I kind of have I have about 9 years of experience now, so I've seen the trends, and I think I see where things are going, and I think people are a little bit mixed up about this topic. So hopefully we'll talk some sense into it tonight. Before we get started, so obviously we're talking about mobile design. I want to have you guys pull up a site on your phones or iPads or whatever you got. It's over here. It's makemoneywithyourwpblog.com. And I don't know how Windows computers work, so, there we go. So there it is, makemoneywithyourwpblog.com. And so once you got it pulled up, I just want to see by show of hands, who thinks that that site is mobile responsive? Show of hands. Anyone? No one thinks that's mobile responsive. Who thinks it's not? That would be everyone who didn't raise their hand, right? There's one. Okay. So, Mercer, why is that not responsive?
I believe it's not responsive because I'm not seeing elements sort of stack upon each other and move back and forth, and I can zoom in and zoom out.
Do you think you could explain that to my grandma? Probably not. Probably not. So that's the deal, right? Does the site work though? You pulled it up, the site came up, it works, you got there. So your usability was not really impeded in any significant way per se. The site works. It works on a mobile device. The only difference is really, if you guys have seen a mobile design, like he said, all the elements will be stacked on top of one another, right there, larger, visible for you to browse. That's what we call mobile responsive now. Kind of silly. The other way, you see a whole website like you would on a desktop, and you zoom. You just do the pinch zoom, no big deal. You go where you want. This is super interesting to me because the difference is really small. The zoom operation, I don't feel like is so terrible that we have to institute this new thing called mobile design, freak out, have discussions about it, and spend all this time and money on this topic when it's such a small difference. You can just zoom and get what you want. What's the big deal? I struggled with this for a couple of years before I did responsive sites. And the deal is, whether or not you choose to have a mobile responsive site is really all about what goals you have for your visitors and for each page of your website. And so one thing I think is great about mobile design is that it's given us this new opportunity to rethink the pages that we have on our website. It's an opportunity to reconsider what we have and to do a better job. So I view mobile design as an opportunity to do better. Not necessarily a thing where you pull it up on your phone and it looks a certain way. Like, that is silly. The site still works. It totally works. So anyhow, we'll come back to this later. I just want to show that example for now and kick things off. But so we're going to talk about what mobile responsive design really means. We're going to talk about what it looks like from a historical perspective, because it gets pretty funny. And we're going to talk about how it affects people like you, people who rely on websites and income from those websites for a living. But above and beyond all that, I want to talk about why. Why mobile design? Nobody really talks about why. Everyone talks about what. You know, mobile design, oh, it's the hot new thing, you gotta have it. Your site's not gonna work. You're losing mobile visitors. Are you? You know, I don't know. I've never seen graphs on that. I'm very dubious to think that a site that isn't mobile responsive but looks like this one is gonna perform that much worse than a site that's totally mobile responsive. Haven't seen any good data on that. So I can't say that this is worse than a perfectly mobile responsive site. So that's, you know, we're separating the what, mobile responsive, and the why. I'm going to focus on the why tonight. And then finally after that, once we get that out of the way, I'll share some best practices, or at least what I think are best practices now that I've, you know, figured out from working with this stuff for a couple years now. And so before we get into it, I just want to know what we have here, who we have here. Who's a developer? Developers in the house? Okay. How about designers? No designers, just website owners who, affiliates, whatever, make money off your websites, relying on all this stuff, trying to figure this out. Okay, perfect. Most of you are those. And next, who is using the WP Touch or comparable plugin to make their site magically responsive? Anyone? Someone's got to be using it. No one's committing this in. No one is using this plugin. I don't believe it. You guys are incredible.
They're not admitting it after that.
I think no one's admitting it. That's the deal. Does anyone know what I'm talking about even, the WP Touch plugin? Okay, so there's a plugin. You know, everyone wants a mobile responsive site, and they have an old theme, whatever, that's not responsive. They don't have the money, time, care, or whatever to purchase a new site, upgrade their design, or whatever, and they install this plugin, and it totally changes your site. Your site looks one way on desktop, looks completely different on a mobile device. Zero correlation between them. The only way someone would know if it's the same site is if they recognize the content from previously viewing it. It's ridiculous. Anyway, we'll talk about that too, but none of you are sinners, so I guess I don't get to chastise anyone. So let's kick it off. So first question, what is mobile responsive design? What does it really mean? And most important, what does it really mean for you? Simply put, a mobile responsive design is a design that is adapted for screens of various sizes. Nothing special there. But the implication behind that is that a designer at some point has included specific treatments for different screen sizes, iPhones, iPads, whatever. There's actual work, you know, time, energy spent on various screen sizes that are changing all the time. Apple just announced new stuff, their iPhones are changing resolutions, iPads are changing resolutions. It's a constantly shifting landscape. So for you guys, as business owners or site owners or whatever, this is super non-trivial for you guys. This is really important. You have a mobile responsive design now. I can tell you there are a million ways to make a mobile responsive site, many of which are done poorly and speak only to devices that exist right now and resolutions that exist right now. These things are changing, which means you have to change your site to keep up with these changes. I hate signing myself up for work in the future. I cannot stand it. So I don't want to take an action today that I know I'm just going to have to erase tomorrow, and keep doing this thing. I keep having to hire my designer, keep having to call my developer to stay on the cutting edge. That's a bogus way to operate. I don't want you guys to get caught in that trap. So, I mean, everything about responsive design impacts your site, your workflow, and maintenance concerns in the future. It's not just a thing, it's a real thing that affects your business that you have to think about. It has costs. So we'll look at the specific impacts of these costs and the specific things that are a problem in just a bit. But I want to look at take a historical perspective on responsive design here, because, like I said, it kind of makes this whole issue funny. So back when the internet was first conceived, web pages were looked at in much the same way that we see a Word document now. It was just a document, words on a page. Nothing special. There was no idea of content on the left, sidebar on the right, such as we have here. Content, sidebar. There wasn't none of this. It was just a web page. So you guys can actually look at the original web page. It's at info.cern.ch, and this is the world's first website. It's not pretty. It's not winning any design awards, but this web page is 21 years old, has been updated 0 times, works on every device, reliably everywhere. It's perfect. It's perfect. If only our businesses could be so good as to require no more effort. So, but back in the day, what was important was the medium, the internet, not the device on which the internet was being viewed. The idea was pages, access to pages universally, no big deal. But things changed right around the year 2000. There was, which I loved, was that there was a boom in screen resolutions. Monitor resolution was changing rapidly. Right around 2000, it was like 800 by 600. It soon became like 1028 by whatever, 1028 by 800. And then 1200, 1600, screens just keep getting bigger, wider, aspect ratios change, they stuff more pixels in there, things are changing all the time. As that began to occur, the original internet was pages like this, give or take, some animated graphics and whatnot, but this is basically web 0.0. Now, as soon as resolution started to change, we had more real estate available for web design. Everyone was using desktop computers at the time. We have more real estate, so designers naturally started doing things like adding a sidebar, because we don't want just a big column of text floating in the middle of space. Designers especially, those of you who are designers will understand this, we want to fill that negative space. It's just a compulsion. And so that's what happened. Screens got wider, people started doing stuff like this, and making more complex websites. Technically, this is a fixed width website with multiple columns. Instead of, the old site, CERN, is not fixed width, it's fluid width. No matter how wide your browser is, that's how wide this thing is. New sites, not like that. Fixed width at max resolution. So, and then Web 2.0 happened. That was fanciness and advertising, which is super important for the way the web has been shaped since then. And after Web 2.0, eventually we got to responsive design. Responsive design is an attempt at retrofitting, trying to accommodate Web 1.0 ideas, multiple columns and stuff, and Web 2.0 ideas, like advertising, sidebars, exposure, things like this, email lists, trying to show people more than just an article on a page, and accommodating those things while also accommodating various screen sizes. That is responsive design. But there's an irony here, and the irony is that the original internet, our CERN site, is totally mobile responsive. It works, it's perfect. It requires no additional treatments, no headaches, no nothing. It works everywhere. And I can't repeat this enough, but the long-term costs of this page are like nil. The long-term costs of your mobile responsive website are really high. And it's more stuff for you to worry about, especially if you're not a designer or developer. I do this stuff for a living, I can't stand doing it. Biggest pain in the ass ever, knowing that I have to think about this stuff all the time and continually keep updating my website. I have a business to run. I want to do new ideas and stuff. I don't want to, keep working on my site. It's ridiculous. So the original internet approach, super low cost. This is sustainable. This is good. We want to be simpler. So ultimately, mobile responsive design is simply an attempt to merge modern design needs and wants, let's be honest, with the original intent of the internet, which is just to serve as a universal hyperlinked medium to access documents, information. It's really an attempt to reclaim, so responsive design attempts to reclaim the simplicity of the past with the sophistication of the present, throwing in all this new fancy stuff. But that is a non-trivial thing, and it has massive costs, massive concerns, and we'll talk about a few of those. So the real question is this: when and why do you need a mobile responsive design? You don't need one because all your friends on Twitter say you need one, or because some marketer guy says you need one without giving you any data or any substantiation. You need one to accomplish a goal. If you have 60% of your visitors coming to you on mobile devices, well, it's in your best interest to serve them something that's really easy for them to grok. Or even better put, let's say you send out marketing emails and you're having a big sale, you're doing a launch. You send people to a landing page. You know that most of your ads come through Facebook or whatever, 60% of your traffic is mobile. Well, that landing page had better work on a phone and better get people right to the point. You don't want them to zoom in that case. In that case, you just want to hit them with the information that they need. So in that case, you would need a responsive design on that page. That is a good decision. You have a why, a legitimate why, for accommodating various devices and adding this cost to your business and to your website. And what that implies is that having mobile responsiveness is not a free decision. It is not a status thing. It's not like wearing fancy clothes or whatever. It is a cost. It is a very practical decision. It is not an aesthetic one. And so, like I said, the second you decide to do a mobile responsive site, you now are committed to maintaining that forever and thinking about that every time you roll out a new page, every time you do a landing page or whatever, making sure that works everywhere. It's stressful. Accommodate 4 or 5 different devices, just try and maximize your sales. We're all familiar with that. Optimization. This is the same kind of thing. This decision needs to be a rational one. You got to have a why. And responsive design should ideally help you achieve your goals. That's why you do it. It's going to help you. It's going to help you do better. So there are 3 major types of page design, ultimately, that you ever have to consider. I'm just going to boil it down, make it super easy. Page type number 1 is a focused page. That'd be something like a landing page, like I mentioned earlier. Traffic is going directly here, landing here. You want to hit them with the message, boom, focus. Those are the best kinds of pages. If I could have everything that I do on the internet based on these focused pages, I would do better than I'm doing right now. This would be paradise. The next kind of page is an exploration page. This would be something like a typical homepage. Let's say you have a product, like I have a product. My homepage tells about it. It scrolls for 100 years. You can learn everything about the product right here on the homepage. It's an exploration page. It's not really a landing page per se. The visitor comes to the site. The intent is for them to learn about what it is and hopefully dig deeper. That's page type number 2, an exploration page. And then type number 3 would be one for exposure. It might be a page full of ads, could be pictures, whatever. You just want to show as much stuff as you can, or stuff that you've agreed to show, whatever it is. So you got focus, you got exploration, and you have exposure. Now, we'll go back to our example from earlier. This site is, some of you might be familiar with the owner. It's Missy Ward from Affiliate Summit. She is an affiliate marketer, among other things. And this site is sponsor-driven, but also affiliate. She's trying to sell WordPress money-making products to her audience. She called me the other day and was like, Chris, how do I remove the mobile responsiveness on the site? I hate it. She's like, people come to it on desktop, and it looks like this, and then it looks different in the mobile view, and people are confused. She had some woman call her up and say, I can't find it. And she thought about her site a little bit and was like, what? They can't see that. The ads all get stuck down at the bottom. People don't know to scroll for 100 years to get to whatever's at the bottom of the page. It's just maybe not the best way to do things. So her decision was to just remove that. She doesn't care if you have to zoom a little bit when you visit the site on a mobile device. What do you lose? Nothing. There's various ways to, she could leave her homepage not responsive, make single articles responsive, getting into the finer point details here, so that if you got linked to her site directly, you would just get the content, but you go to the homepage, you can explore. strategic kind of things, whatever. So this site is not responsive on purpose, and she wanted to achieve ad exposure. So this is an example of an exposure page versus focus or exploration. So now, as I already said, the DIY Themes homepage, this is an exploration page. It's not responsive either. My product only works on desktop, so like, I don't care. This is not, having a mobile responsive page here, not super critical for my audience, and that saves me a lot of money. I don't have to deal with that. This would be a nightmare to deal with from a design perspective and stay up to date with. So thankfully, it doesn't matter here. However, I have a demo for all the skins that we sell, which are just designs, kind of like WordPress themes, and people want to know if they're responsive. So this part of the site is totally responsive. So that's an example of, it's kind of exploration, but in this case, it's, the responsiveness is pertinent to my goal. And then the best type of page, and since you guys are marketers, this is the ultimate page for you guys. It's a landing page. And there's no navigation, there's no links. It's just centered content, works perfectly on a mobile device. These you want to be responsive. Especially, single column flow is just perfect. That's pretty much what mobile devices were made for. And so, so on your mobile device, if you were to pull up a non-responsive page, even though you only have 320 pixels wide on your iPhone, it shrinks up the site and will show the whole width of the site in 320 pixels for a non-responsive site. That's how it works. So the responsive moniker I kind of take issue with. It's silly. Like, it works, whatever. But I like to think of it as focused design. It's like you're focusing in on that one piece of content rather than just giving people, here's the kitchen sink. You're like, bam, here you go. It's like zooming in with a camera. So that's how I think of responsive design. If I want you to zoom in and laser hone your focus on a specific thing, this is how you do it on any device. So that's how I use, responsive design as a tool rather than just a thing. Oh, my site has this, that's great. Is it great? Give me data. Responsive designs with mobile devices in particular, like all I care about is the phone. Almost all traffic's from phones. I get some iPad traffic, but it's trivial comparatively. It promotes, so designing for a mobile device with responsive stuff, it all converges on a one-column layout, top-down flow, exactly the way we generally are able to best scan and use the internet. People like top-down stuff. I've done a bunch of eye tracking studies in the past, and you have a page such as this one. Well, actually, I made it all single column based on the data that I got from the previous version of the site, where we had kind of like text over here and a video over here, two-column thing down underneath it, and eye tracking studies look like epileptics reviewing the site. It was really weird. We couldn't nail down any data at all because eye tracking was all over the place. People were not focusing on any sections of the site. They weren't learning anything. They had lots of questions, pre-sale, post-sale, and I didn't really know what was going on or how to get people to quit asking me questions I'd already answered on my homepage. And the reason why was because we were dividing their focus unnecessarily. It was much better for us to just go with a laser-focused, top-down layout, which also happens to segue the most easily into a mobile responsive kind of environment. And so I really appreciate responsive design now simply because it brings this one column, top down, super focused design back in vogue. It's the simplest design to maintain over time. It's the most effective, no matter what the medium is. You can give me an 8 zillion pixel wide screen. I'm still going to give you one column of text in the middle because I want you to focus on one thing, because that gets me the results I want. If I lead you down a page and have an opt-in at the bottom, you're going to click on that. But if I give you a column of text and a bunch of sidebar links, your eyes will wander. The tracking tests tell me that your eyes are going to wander. You might click on something else, and now you're on, I don't know, about my site or some stupid page that doesn't sell for me, and I've lost money. So that's bogus. You can influence your audience's decisions. You can avoid their kind of ADD, their natural ADD, and just give them one option, straight down the page. I mean, this is great advice for any sales page. Lead them right down to what you want. Don't give them any options. Get rid of links. You got extraneous links on your sales pages, get rid of them. No links. In fact, my pricing page is jail. You can't get out. Here we go, not a single link on this thing. Whoop. I even removed the link from the logo if you try to get cute. No link. I'm telling you, get rid of links on sales pages. So anyway, another study that I just read recently reports that 92% of mobile users browse in portrait mode. That's the vertically oriented mode. That further contributes to the single column approach that I'm advocating. But in addition to that, I have people contact me about worrying about landscape views, and I'm like, look, data says I don't care. If you nail that first 92%, you're just trying to squeeze every last bit out. Yeah, I might help you with the landscape, but who cares? Focus on what people use the most. 92% using portrait mode. Portrait mode is what you need to worry about. Although a good responsive design will work on both. It's not like it doesn't. But just something to think about. Because like iPads, when you turn them sideways, many sites will flip into the desktop view because they have enough pixels width to show all that. Something to think about. Anyway. But in my testing, with my business, gotten max conversions, always, not even close, like factor 2 is probably the closest it's been. Single column wins every time by a ton. And you can do different things with single column, like bringing in pictures, captions, trying different headlines, that kind of stuff. Much easier to test from an analytics standpoint. People get so wrapped up in analytics and like analyzing data on their pages and stuff. So much easier to do. So much, you're kind of guessing if you have 500 factors on your page. But if you only have one column, you only have 2 pictures, and you change some caption text, and you're getting more sales, you have a good idea that worked. So, this is great all around. You eliminate variables on your site, you deal with less stuff, you get more clear signals about what works and what doesn't. There's every reason to do this. I've got some other notes here, like, if you're showcasing a product such as we do, on DIY themes, then, you want an exploration page, and whether or not your exploration page is responsive is a personal decision. Like my site is not, like I said, because it only works on desktop browsers. I prefer not to be refunding people who come on a mobile device. Hey, how come I can't control my templates and stuff and thesis with my phone? Well, it's hard enough to design the thing for a desktop. I damn sure didn't do it for a phone. So, it's just one of those things. Speak to your audience and know your audience, which this is always it's evergreen information. And then this has just come to light to me recently. It's so true. Social media promotion, I don't know about you guys, we're super reliant on that for traffic, sending people to new updates and stuff. I have an email list, and I do social promo. The email list dominates, but social promo is seriously significant for us. Serious. And right now, we're not sending people to mobile responsive pages, but I know that 42% of the people that click on stuff I send out an email are on a mobile device. I'm sucking in that category right now. I need to make those pages responsive so that the phone users get the information I want them to get right away. So think about where you're sending your visitors. Look at the metrics on who does what, and make sure that people are getting the experience they need there, so you're not losing out on sales needlessly. And so maybe responsive's for you, maybe it's not. Maybe you're not ready to make that investment. It's no big deal. You're probably not losing. Like I said, you can do some things to make the experience better for users, but if you're hooked on responsive, definitely don't overlook these important considerations. Number one, and the one that I get the most, is consistency. I can't tell you how many templates that are sold and how many designers do responsive treatments, and the mobile version of the site really doesn't look much like the desktop version of the site. People see different things in different places, and they don't know where to find things. So I'll give you an anecdote. So Susie is at work on a Tuesday afternoon, and you sent out a marketing email. Susie gets the email, clicks on the link, goes to your site on her desktop computer at her office. She's like, oh, I'm going to show this to the girls later. She's going to happy hour. After work, she goes to happy hour. She wants excited to show her friends whatever you emailed out. She pulls it up on her phone, and now the damn site looks totally different on her phone. She can't figure out, it's not clear to her how to share this stuff with other people because you don't have any consistency with your site, and especially with where things display and how they display. And so it's super important to maintain consistency. It's very popular to just remove elements. You've got your desktop view, go into mobile view, let's just get rid of stuff. I would say that's a slippery slope. You know, people expect to see, you know, there's so many things in psychology, anchors, things like that. You don't want to mess with anchors that people have for information that you put out there. So it's just really important to consider that. Consistency is key. If you have a mobile responsive version of your site, make sure that the top section and all that anchor stuff that should be familiar to people, make sure there is a real nice cohesion there, great consistency. It will make a difference, I promise. And then this little call back to that WP Touch plugin is the opposite of consistency. Your site's going to look blue and very much like everybody else who's using that plugin, all 8 zillion sites. You've lost if that's your mobile site. Susie got your email at work, site looked nice, now she's showing her friends in this WP Touch. Well, who knows what's going on now? Another tip, and David kind of set this up for me earlier, it's important to nail your typography on a mobile device. Really matters about readability and stuff. So you may have noticed this. So when you have a line of text, there's space between the lines of text. In web terms, that's known as the line height. In typography terms, it's called the leading. If the leading is too small, it's really hard to read. It's really, when you finish one line, your eyes jump back to the next, you may reread the previous line of text if the line height is too small. I'm sure you've done this. I've done it a million times. It also looks more daunting. There's a density of pixels that make the text, and it's just not as inviting to read. You want to feel, nice and airy when you're reading text. Like, this is effortless. You've already read this probably. Didn't even think about it. So, it's important to nail your typography. It's important to get the spacing and stuff right to make people not feel cramped, to feel invited to read what you have. And in my testing, specifically, a little takeaway here, font sizes from 14 to 16 are really suitable for mobile devices for responsive views, specifically for responsive views. 14 to 16, don't go any higher than 16. You get like 3 words a line on an iPhone with like size 18. It looks stupid. So 16 is the max for mobile right now for me, I think. We'll see what happens with the next generation of iPhones, but 14 to 16 is your target range for your mobile site. You can go bigger than that on desktop if you want. Kind of doesn't matter, but it's just what, that's up to your design. And it's important also to embrace the fact that on smaller screens, each page becomes solely about the content. You don't have room for extra stuff. You don't have room for a sidebar. You can stick it down at the bottom, it's not going to matter. People come there for the content, so it's important to embrace that, but it's a constraint that's going to help you. You will help laser focus your pages if you just embrace the constraint of the one column, no extemporaneous crap on your page. Just get rid of all the stuff that doesn't matter. Have a one page, one goal. It's the mantra. Establish a goal for the page. Do everything on that page to establish that goal. Don't worry about other stuff. You got 500 other web pages on your site that you want people to see? Sorry. They were on that page for one goal. Accomplish that goal, and then you can accomplish something else maybe. And then finally, think about your visitors' flow on every page. This goes, basically with what I just said, but consider their flow, their visual flow, their natural tendency to go top down, to look at pictures. People look at pictures, people will read captions, people will read headlines and sub-headlines, and everyone will see all that content before they see all the words on the page. Focus on those, nail those. Also think about your goal for the user. I want an email conversion at the bottom of this copy. Make sure your design supports that goal, and make sure that you haven't included anything on the page that goes against it. If you wanted to sign up for an email, why did you put another link in there? Why did you have a sidebar? You wanted to sign up for the email, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you can't stick email opt-ins in your sidebar on your homepage. That's an exploration page, no big deal. But for one page, one goal kind of pages, get rid of all the stuff that doesn't count. And that will certainly help you maximize engagement, time on site, conversions, and performance. In my testing, there's kind of an unintended benefit here. As we started to go through the site and get rid of stuff that didn't matter on each page, we actually had more engagement on other pages. So, I guess the theory there is that, people got what they wanted. They think you can solve other problems that they have. They're more inclined to look around. You haven't crushed their attention span while they've been on your site. So those are really just the basics. I think we're going to open it up for Q&A now, but I'm sure you guys have some questions. I'll happily answer anything from my own experience, and also maybe not from my experience, because I talked to plenty of people about this. So anyway, let's open it up. What do we got?
in your opinion and experience, how does mobile optimization affect SEO?
I would say almost not at all right now, but so he says, do I think there's any effect on SEO right now from having a mobile responsive site or not? Is that fair characterization? Okay. So I'm not seeing any positive or negative effects right now. However, the writing is on the wall. So if any of you are into optimization and performance, Google has a tool called Page Speed Insights. And they are now reporting on your regular site and also the mobile version of your site. They give you a score out of 100.
What is it called again?
It's Google Page Speed Insights. And it's a great tool if you're not using it already. It's a great analytics tool to kind of see how well your site is performing. It always blows my mind. I'm a very performance optimization oriented kind of guy. My product is all about that. You know, there's a right way to build a web page. I try to build it right.
Is that the Google developers? Is it like, looks like that?
I mean, just search for Google
That's what
Page
it
Speed.
is.
Okay.
This is the whole entire page, pretty much the first page. If I go back.
Yeah. You type your URL in that field and you're good.
Google Page Insights, but it's all targeted towards developers.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
That's the one you're talking about.
yes, absolutely. You can kind of gauge the health of your page and how fast it renders. Anyway, I'm into performance and optimization. It matters for your site. That matters for rankings far more than whether or not you have a mobile site right now. How fast is your site? How well does it perform? That matters significantly. Google's been using speed as a rankings factor, I think, since February 2011, if not earlier. It was announced in February 2011. So super important to do that, and almost every site I ever audited is using a theme that's just terrible, including 500 JavaScripts. Site takes 8 seconds to load, never loads on mobile. It's just ridiculous, all the stuff people throw in there just because, oh, I want this in my sidebar, I need this add this script, add this. They never think about it. They've been running a site for 2 years, and next thing you know, you have 50 plugins, 5 zillion things to update, and a really slow site. So anyway, the writing's on the wall. Since Google's putting that in the Page Speed Insights analysis, I'm trying to get those numbers up right away because it's going to be affecting rankings sooner or later, absolutely. Because they know what the traffic numbers are from mobile and from everything else, and mobile's got all the momentum. So definitely matters. Any questions?
So I can understand the, sticking to the single column when you've got a single product like yours or like the other site you're showing. But what about, for instance, like a product review blog where you might want people to see the kind of variety of content that you have?
Great question. So, all right, I'll speak directly to that first. So I have skins that I sell with my product. It's designs, individual designs. I have like 4 right now, but let's say I have 10. I don't want a page with just one of them, right? Or necessarily even top down. I'll probably do like one on the left, one on the right. It's a different kind of page. It's an exploration page, like I said. So you could set up pages that are intended to be exploratory, but I would caution you, if I land on your site on a specific review page for a specific thing, do not provide a bunch of links to other stuff. You can provide them at the end of the article, or you can be savvy and intersperse them about 500 words in when people start to lose interest. That's a savvy way to do it, to include some links that way, but you have not interrupted the visual flow, and that's super important. Assuming that you're making money off affiliate clicks on these product reviews, you want to keep people there and ideally have them hit that. And if they weren't engaged enough to begin with to get a couple, few hundred words in or go down the page, do you really think you're going to get that sale on another, they just click around to another article? Like, it's not likely. They probably got to your site because they were looking for a specific review anyway, not for another review. So in my experience, user behavior rarely justifies sticking a bunch of links in the sidebar for that reason. I had just a quick anecdote. I spoke in New York a few years back, and I'll never forget this. This woman has like vegan t-shirts or something like that, and her nav bar had like 60 links. 60 links. I'm like, what are you doing? She says, I just want people to know all the cool stuff I have. The problem is, if you try to tell them everything at once, it's like the little 7-year-old kid with ADD coming up to you going, hello, hey, I'm going to trying to tell you everything at once. You're not listening. You just want to tune out. So it's a psychological condition known as analysis paralysis. The more stuff you give people, the less response you get. So 1 or 2 things, stick with 1 or 2 things. I'd stick with 1 thing. It's way more effective. And so that's really the scoop with that.
I have a corporate website. I don't have a product I'm trying to sell, but I have people go to, that's why I've been involved with us, and I don't blog and all that kind of stuff, so I'm not trying to sell anybody a product, right? They land on my website and they're, they're looking around.
All right, well, I mean, I think that's kind of like this. I have various navigation links up top. I decided not to make this one responsive because you can't use my product with the devices that would typically be associated with responsive views. But in your case, if it's just information, like a doctor's office or something like that, why not make it responsive? I mean, if there's if you have a header with a content slider and 5 things, you'll get rid of that on individual view pages so people can just get their information, strip out extemporaneous stuff. But, for that, I would make a responsive site for that for sure. Especially if there's a lot of visual density.
Chris, you spoke about eye tracking studies. So, first question, do you mean real eye tracking studies or click tracking? And second question, if you mean eye tracking, how big does your page need to be for it to warrant eye tracking? And second, how many people do you need to do it with to get significant results?
All right, that's a really good question. So the eye tracking, I guess, is kind of a misnomer. The company's called Wingify. They do visualization stuff. That's who I use. And it's really mouse movements that they're tracking, because people tend to, I'm a big time doer of this. When I read, I highlight text just incessantly, so my mouse is always hanging out where I'm reading. That's real common, it turns out, and that's kind of the justification for that style of study. After I did it for about 6 months, all my results were the same. It's super no-brainer to me. It was obvious I need to have a 1-column top-down flow. That was my clear takeaway. I was like, oh, well, it's obvious that this is what's causing the problems and this traffic just being dispersed all over the site and nothing happening. I needed to establish a flow. So I had 6 months of data. I expected all this super nerdy, great insights out of it. No, it was really basic, top-down. I paid $600 for that or something. I know now. Anyway.
You said you do marketing emails. Do you do text or HTML based?
I do. I do a little hybrid, but I do the most basic HTML on earth. So any of you who create emails, all the CSS needs to be included in line in HTML styling. So you would write, P style equals font size, 12 pixels or whatever, that kind of thing. It's so ghetto and so remedial. But I just do that, and I set up my typography to make it look really good, and then that's all I do. I set it in Georgia typeface so it looks a little bit more fancy than your typical email blast coming through. But
do you notice your audience using more and more mobile to open your email?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So are you concerned with that? Because I know your audience is PC based.
Yeah, well, I said about 42% of our clicks from emails right now are from mobile clients, and the pages I send them to are not mobile optimized. They have to zoom, but still, that's a courtesy. They might as well. So you told them about content, you link them to the content, give them the content. But yeah.
So first, I want to go back to the term you used. The more stuff you give people, the less response you get. What did you call that?
Analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis. And then the second question I wanted to go back to was the 4 different examples you gave on web, or more specifically, focus page, exploration page, exposure page, landing page.
It was 3 really. The landing page is a focus page.
Okay, so you put a landing page. Okay, so explorations page, you would recommend staying away completely from mobile design for the most part?
No. I said that's a choice that you make based on what kind of content you have. I made the choice not to do it because my stuff only works in desktop. But if you're just information, like I said, if you're a doctor's office, well, people are going to need that on the go. Might as well make it responsive.
Okay, well, what about, and again, the exposure page, again, more of a, I guess, you were saying that was also not good for mobile design, or what?
No, it's just if you have ads in your sidebar and you have sponsors paying you X amount of dollars per month, and now 60% of your traffic is mobile, well, those ads are buried at the bottom. They're getting 0 ROI. So you might want to not have a mobile responsive design so those ads appear normal, like in the flow, and users have to zoom, or you could stitch them in above your content. Pretty big no-no. Bounce rates go way up and people just see ads at the top of the page. So it's kind of a balancing act there. These are decisions that webmasters have to make on their own.
All right, which is why I wanted to go back to that. So what is the balance that you've seen work for your clients, specifically your clients you've seen use your program to try to balance ads who normally would be, like you just said, on the right-hand side or sometimes left-hand side. And I've seen examples on this, like let's say for the example, yesterday, I tried to see an ad on USA Today, or more specifically an article, and right up front, it shut my phone off.
Right. So, I mean, I would say
Absolutely was like,
typically most of my customers are not sophisticated enough to ask that kind of question. They just want a website, and then they heard they want a mobile responsive website. And that's kind of the end of it. So this is all way too high level for that anyway, unfortunately.
Have you tested pop-up overlays on mobile devices compared to desktop?
I have not. That's a good question. I mean, it definitely crushes on desktops. You know, on mobile, I think it'd probably be pretty annoying because sometimes those X to close buttons are so damn small with the catch area for your finger. That stuff pisses me off. I usually hit the back button, but who knows?
Which is sweet. Yeah.
I wanted to mention about the typography and getting the typography right. I built a tool a while back. I will pull it up. So you don't have to guess at this. You can just send your designer here and tell them to do this. It's personified.com/typography. Hey. And this is the golden ratio typography tool. So you know that your font size on mobile devices is 14 pixels. And you have 320 pixels of width. You hit enter. The optimized would be font size 14, line height 21. This is what it looks like. So it's a real handy little shortcut tool. You don't have to guess. Just go here, type the stuff in. Whatever that says will be good. A little shortcut action. Anyway, were there more questions?
Is there anybody you think is doing a particularly good job on responsive design? Who would you hold out as a gold standard?
DIY themes though.
You know, that's a really good question. I'd say the people doing it the best are businesses that are responsible for their own sites and having in-house crews, because they're going to be modifying things for success. The whole team's going to be focused on that. They're probably doing the best job. As far as mass producing like themes and stuff like that, I got to be honest, the landscape is really sad. Really sad. Sales in that area the last few years have been explosive enough, and demand has been high enough, and people calling for certain things even though they have no, you know, a friend said they need this, so they just repeat it to you or to me, the provider. And most of the providers fall in line and make whatever they say to get that quick sale. But the problem is, you know, from a technical standpoint, a lot of these themes that are for sale are just horrible. You get a performance hit, massively bloated HTML, really crappily done responsive design, such as design that's based on known pixel widths of devices right now. I wasn't going to get into this tonight, but as a designer, I don't design to a device width. I do responsive design to what the design's natural breakpoints are. So for example, if I'm able to do this, minimize. So like this thing will change as I drag this out, and each decision, you know, each time it changes was a specific decision point based on this layout and its physical characteristics. Like, I have 580 pixels wide of text. I want to maintain this 580 pixels, perfect line spacing and whatnot on as many devices that can accommodate it as possible, which happens to be all desktops, iPads in portrait and landscape, and phones in landscape. And then once we get down to phones in portrait, the width shrinks, spacing shrinks to fit more stuff on a page, but those decisions are made with respect to the design itself and not with respect to any devices or known screen widths. That's a fool's game. The screen widths are going to change. So there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. I don't see a lot of providers taking this approach, you know. It's unfortunate. When I came into the game in like 2005, 2006, web standards was such a big deal. All the providers I know literally shit on web standards. They don't care at all. They're trying to get the sale. It's really disgusting to me. But, and people don't know to admonish them. Like I can sit here and stay on top of the hill all day and shout, oh, this is terrible. No one cares because it's only me saying it. No one else is, you know, there's really no calls for this stuff to improve. And it's pretty sad, I think. But, you know, people are going to buy what suits them the best and what they understand. People understand the design that appeals to them. And so all that other technical stuff be damned. And that's the environment we're in right now. I'm concerned about it, but whatever.
Would you suggest fluid fix with layouts for websites?
Excellent question. So fixed width, here's why. if you're fluid and text goes all the way across the page, many studies on reading show that people will not read. They will just not read a column of text that's more than about 95 characters per line wide. If the text goes all the way across the damn page, it's way too daunting. It's laborious, literally, to read really long lines of text and do these big return sweeps. That's the motion of the eyes from the end of one line to the beginning of another. People just won't read them. So we do little tricks on our blog to cater to this fact that people actually want to read line lengths that are about 55 characters per line wide, but they read faster as line lengths get longer. So to help people flow through the page, we give them the aesthetic kick in the beginning by adding an image to squeeze the width of the text. And then, so like I've squeezed this text to roughly like 45 characters per line. So people start reading this and they're already into the flow. By the time they get here, they're not even thinking about the fact that they're reading anymore. So the line lengths go a little bit longer and they buzz right down through the rest of the article. This is a psychological trick to get people to read without really thinking about it. So that's why you wouldn't want to do a fluid design, because the text goes all the way across the damn page. And you can't predict what the reading environment is going to be. He mentioned I'm a typography freak. It's so true. I cannot make, I can't do the fluid width. It's ridiculous. It's a typography fail. So whenever I know what the width is going to be of the text and the device can accommodate it, I'm keeping it just like that. And then shrinking it for devices that are smaller, but never making it wider.
Genius, I like it. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? I think we're done. I think it's beer 30.
Great, thanks, Chris. Thanks, everybody. There's plenty of beer, and I think there's still some sandwiches left, and you can stay and network, so thank you.